last Christmas.
I gave you my heart.
It was going to happen. Waited for it. After what I did today, this does not faze me.
I wish I had a soundboard where I could play the George. The typical like ballpark
fair.
yeah. Bam 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 bam.
Charge.
It's hot dog night here at Dad's Game Room.
That's like the organist who got ejected from a game by the home plate umpire for playing Three Blind Mice.
You literally said that same exact thing last week.
Because I think it's hilarious. Like, as a home plate umpire, if you're getting pissed off at the guy up in the box, maybe you do need to rethink what you're calling.
So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 4 baseball games to play. Now, two of them are like considered some of like the best baseball games. RBI Baseball, a lot of people talk about for the NES. I've never played it. And then MVP Baseball 2004. A lot of people hail that as like one of the best baseball games to ever exist. And then you made a recommendation, and then I made a recommendation. So your recommendation was Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball for N64.
I have a lot of nostalgia for that, but it's not the greatest game.
Well, I recommended World Series Baseball for the Sega.
It's just because it has Chris Hoyles in
it. No. I don't know what it is about this game, but it just I don't know. Like, I think it deserves more praise than it gets.
Did
like,
you have it when you were a kid?
Yes, I did. 100%. Like, I have a lot of nostalgia for it, sure, but like the way that it plays is just, I don't know, something about it is really just nice.
I mean, there's only so many ways you can really play a baseball game.
Yeah.
Except unless like you get into the new show stuff.
Well,
they have,
yeah.
You assuming you have to, move the glove and like.
Oh, yeah, I hate that part in the new show where you're throwing to first and you have to drag the stick up to the glove. Yeah, I can never do it. It's so terrible.
They tried to reinvent the wheel and make it more engaging and more realistic, and it's like, I'm sorry, flicking a stick is nothing like throwing a baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like it.
Like, you're never...
But we'll play like a couple of innings from each, and after we're done each, we'll give our thoughts on what we think about it.
This mumbling brought to you by Cadbury Caramello. Thank you to our sponsors. I paid for this.
If it's caramel, it's Cadbury.
Cadbury makes like the cream eggs.
I don't really care for this.
They make caramel versions.
I don't really care for those. I'm not a big caramel guy. I like caramel, but like, if I'm going for like something like a chocolate, it's Reese's, or just like the plain Hershey's bar.
You're so Pennsylvania, you're almost Amish. Let me just say, one, these are going to be god-awful. Finish it! What the fuck are you doing?
No!
Hit!
How do I throw it?
Yeah, how do you like that? How do you like that? Second baseman grabs it. Throw home.
Did he?
He didn't tag up.
He didn't tag up. Oh!
Quit life by the second baseman.
Get out. Go. Yeah. Damn. Over the lights. Go, baby.
Tied up.
Those are some sad-looking fireworks.
Clemens sucks.
Back-to-back homers. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Oh, yeah.
Yes! Oh, yes! Dude, what the hell?
That's in the parking lot. So RBI baseball for the NES. It wasn't miserable.
I guess not. You cracked me 16-6.
It wasn't a miserable game to play, but I don't think I would go out of my way to play this game.
If it's 1989 and this is all I have, I might pick it up.
Yeah.
If it's like on sale or if it's cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Today.
Yeah, like with Tecmo Bowl, like that was fun because I feel like football, the way that football works and the mechanics of football, and it's a little more like back and forth with, you can have interceptions, sacks, stop the runs, a lot of trash talk back and forth. Like it's a lot easier to play like those older ones, but when it comes to baseball, it's like this game was just kind of like
I think about baseball as a game, not just like as a game, but
Yeah.
as a game. And I think about what most people I've heard say about it, and the biggest like theme there is, I love going to the ballpark. I enjoy watching baseball games in person. You add a TV into the mix, and people start falling asleep because it's so slow paced. So when it comes time to put it in a video game, I think the number one thing that you need to be doing is trying to find a way not to slow it down.
Yeah, and this was controlling your fielders is really rough. Like you can't, like they move so sluggishly slow.
Oh, this is dreadful.
So I think if you're looking for a baseball game to play, this is probably not the one. It's one of my favorite baseball games. Like, listen to that theme song.
So it's like a weird thing. I always appreciated that it seemed like with the Sega games, they tried to
Just smoked it.
Dude, you cannot play like the Orioles during this. I cannot feel this pain again of watching this 95 team just like shit the bed. It looks like this one's going back, but he might get it. Yep.
Did you see the guy dive?
It's a shot down the line to left. It's gone. Home run. Oh, doctor. It's a long.
Did Cal Ripken just do that?
Left center. Way back. Going, gone.
Oh, baby.
So that's career home run number 3 for Ripken. He retired, what was it, 25 years ago?
What do you think of World Series baseball? What are your views on that one?
I mean, just as a spectator, I can tell you I don't want those controller issues, but like the game, I understand where you're at with it. I don't know if I would get into it like that hard. I think a lot of that has to do with your memories of it. But
so yeah, I think a lot of that game is driven by my nostalgia and my fond memories of it. Because like I said, when I was playing baseball, like it was eat, sleep, breathe baseball. So it was playing World Series baseball. I would go through my baseball cards and pan through those, and I used to like pretend like I would have like a little piece of paper like balled up, and I would pretend to like play like baseball with like cards on like a position, like where I would position them all like in the diamond in the outfield, and I would set a fence for the outfield, and I would basically like play a simulation baseball game and just like pretend like the ball would like go, and I would like, weird shit I did as a kid. But I think this one is a lot more like, this translates more to like how baseball games are now, from the catcher's eye view with the box and the little baseball that you move around.
Well, and I think this is what kind of started that transition. The one thing I do want to highlight real quick while you're on that is that they had a very tight, close in where the batter was like out of perspective.
You get part of their body in there.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of the games around this time did not go that in, and they kind of, they kept the batter in it for that engagement. But I think that from the perspective of batting, it's significantly easier like this.
Yeah, definitely.
And,
it's a lot harder to time with these two because you're going from those fastballs to those off-speed pitches like curveballs and sliders, where like your timing is way, way off because you have to predict and you have to know, like you have to see where the ball is headed to then be like, do I swing? Do I not swing? Like with RBI baseball, it was just like swinging everything. Like it doesn't matter. But with this, like you have to actually like try and figure out like, all right, I'm going to let this one go. Oh, nope, I need to swing at this one. It's an off-speed pitch. It's a fastball, you know.
And that's a challenging thing too, because if you remember back to the retro game we played, it was kind of like overhead.
Yeah. Yep.
To a degree.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the representation of that ball moving the 60 feet from the pitcher's mound to home plate that you can use to kind of gauge the speed and the position. When you switch to a perspective like this, if you think about a ball coming at you, the only thing that's really changing that tells you it's coming at you is the size in its relation to everything else.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that just differential there. Any movement, that doesn't represent speed, it represents location.
Yeah.
So, timing there too, and developing these games, I think, was probably a little bit more challenging because it's like, okay, how many more pixels do we need to encompass as it gets closer to depict that, hey, the ball's getting closer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this baseball game is where I would say, like, you could probably start. Like, if you for some reason want to go back to a retro style game, maybe most of the time I think with these sports games, a lot of people go back for the nostalgia, like a lot of games. But for something like this, like, I feel like you kind of have to have a little bit of nostalgia or play with somebody who has the nostalgia.
Yeah.
Or see it somewhere where you're just like, that looks kind of fun. Like, I think I'll give that a try. And, especially if you're well-versed in, like, that timeline, like, that time frame of, like, the players, like, man, that some of the, like, the level of players you have in there are just wild. Plus, you have Home Run Derby and all those game modes, which, again, like, are a blast.
I think you could start there. I don't know that it's like a checkbox, but that's definitely a good place to start.
Yeah, if you're starting on like RBI baseball, it's rough when you're transitioning to like the next level, like a more current one where it's like, whoa, this isn't looking down at the field. This is from catcher's perspective, and then I forget when they started doing the pitching from like kind of second baseman perspective.
I don't remember
or
seeing
second
that
base
until like
perspective.
PS3.
Was that like about PS3?
And they usually, I think the default on that is only during pitching.
Yeah. Only during pitching it, and the batting is always from catcher perspective.
Yeah, well, you can set it to whatever you want it, but
I never change those settings. I just kind of leave them.
I always mess with them.
Leave them how they go.
Have you ever tried to bat from the outfield? Oh.
All right, so now we are N64 era, baby. The disappointment.
It's great, isn't it?
The fireworks and... Yep. That's smoked. No?
That's BJ Surhoff.
All right, so Ken Griffey Jr. baseball for the N64. Miles better gameplay-wise, especially there's a lot to digest in this game. The pitching is way more important than, normally, like with especially comparing it to like World Series baseball. With World Series baseball, you have the little ball logo and you drag it to where you want it, and then you select your pitch, and that determines, how that goes. With Ken Griffey, you're selecting that, but you can move it as well. which is insane. To like that just adds a whole nother level of skill. Like the skill gap here is very large.
Yes.
Because not only do you have like the pitching, but you also have to bat against the pitching, which you can't really predict it.
That was your first time playing it?
Yeah.
I grew up on that. Like me and my grandfather, like that is probably one of the best memories that I have with Pop, and I have a lot of them, but those are like really like stand out where, you know, we'd be playing that, and he used to get frustrated as hell because I mean he's older, and we can accept the fact that like older folks who don't have technology exposure at younger ages typically don't adapt as well to it. Like our generation will be the first generation who will get old and understand technology, so it'll be very interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah.
So he would get frustrated by that. And to your point, you know, there's a lot going on there. I think that like World Series baseball is a good like dip your feet in kind of thing, figure out if you like it. I think if you already know that you're going to like baseball, maybe jump to the Ken Griffey as like the initial dive because it has that extra space that you can go.
Yeah.
And then go backwards compatible into it, or, you know, just start with World Series and work up. But I think both of them are like, you know, if you're going to progress through baseball and you really want to experience kind of like how we got here.
Yeah.
You know, World Series, Ken Griffey is definitely like the next evolution of World Series.
Yeah, like there's so like you have the C buttons, which is so easy. Like having the directional buttons like that is so important in a baseball game because you can. It's so easy to think I need to throw to first. I just hit where first is on the diamond.
Yep.
Hit second, hit third. Like when you're in those split-second decisions to get those double plays, it's easy to just second, first.
Average was second best in the American League behind
Oh! What a snag.
David Ortiz is into the batter's box.
Big Papi.
Big Papi. Look at that dumper that he's got. Gave my man a dump truck.
I don't know. Why are you looking at man's asses?
He sends this pitch to left. Ramirez won't
Dude,
strike.
if you're going to automate yourself diving, at least catch the damn button.
There's another run. A rare inside the park home run. In a game like this, I'd love to see the man get
The announcer just adding insult.
Will hit next.
A rare inside the park.
He delivers.
The honka tonka badonka
0-2.
donk.
He makes the play.
What? All right, MVP Baseball 2004. What do you think?
So, I mean, the graphics are definitely better. And the gameplay gets into a lot of more advanced concepts like, you know, your team management aspect where you can substitute pitchers and then, like, take Ken Griffey, for instance, you can still substitute pitchers there and it gets into that aspect of, oh, they're getting tired.
Yeah.
You don't have the whole, oh, you need to put them in the bullpen before you put them in the game to warm them up first so that way they're effective. In that game, we get into all that in, like, the PlayStation era stuff.
Yeah. You start getting more advanced in, like, the actual mechanics of the game of baseball, and you have to, like, kind of have an understanding of how that goes to play efficiently.
Right. And the other thing is, like, you know, things to note with MVP 2004, throw power.
Yeah.
You know, we're no longer just throwing to a place. We're actually throwing to a place and depicting how hard we do it, you know, and I'm sure at the higher skill levels, like I know that on Pro, in most of those PlayStation games like that, you get to a point where you do have to, use a cursor to identify the area that the ball is coming into in the strike zone.
Yeah.
The timing is... You didn't seem to have a problem with it. I could not catch up with it. I felt like it was really laggy.
So I had a couple swings where I thought I had pushed X at like the right time, but there was like a delay. I don't know what that was about. I don't know if that was like maybe the batteries on my controller were starting to die, or maybe that's part of the game where like or whatever. But there were a couple times where I was like, I swear that I hit X sooner, but maybe not. But with that one, a big difference in batting with that one versus Ken Griffey is like you're not changing the pitch and you have to drag the thing. Like if the ball is in the strike zone and I'm pressing X, chances are if I have the right timing, I'm going to hit it.
Well, yeah, on rookie, yes.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know how how it works with like higher difficulties.
So most of the PlayStation games, especially like in the EAs and all that, the movement in the pitch is depicted by the pitch you select. Like you'll note how the slider has like all that definition there. The knuckle was dancing, and then the position of it is really where you want the ball to end. So like if you pick, a big slider and you throw it on the left side of the plate,
it's going to come out.
It's going to look like it's going to hit. Yeah, exactly. And the person that you're playing against is not going to know it's a slider unless they watched your controller when you selected that pitch.
Yeah.
So they might have an idea of where it's coming in at, but when they start to see it go out, they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is it moving out there? Like, where's it going? And it doesn't have a cursor to follow it at that point.
This game balances out the arcadey type of feel where it's not too simple, but it's not too complex.
Yeah.
Especially at the levels that we were playing, like it was a nice balance. And we weren't just ripping home runs. We hit no home runs.
Well, and I also kind of don't like that. Because the home runs are exciting, they're fun.
Yeah, you do like to see a cranked ball every now and then. However, there was still a lot of baseball to play there, so very well could have done something or had a better team that has a lot more powerhouses on it, etc.
Well, I mean, the 2004 Red Sox were powerhouses.
Yeah, but if you were having trouble with timing, then yeah.
They won the World Series that year, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I'll check in a minute, but my biggest takeaway there were two things. One, to your point, there was a lot of baseball left, so it was slower.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was definitely not as fast progressed as Ken Griffey.
Yeah.
Two, it was significantly more in depth and way more simulation. So I think once you get into that kind of game, I would almost venture to say go newer than 2004 or newer than PS2 if you can.
Probably, yeah.
Because the newer consoles are going to be better at handling that timing. The response times are going to be better.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get a better experience out of that.
Probably, yeah.
But it's a good game all the same. My personal favorite is still Ken Griffey.
Yeah.
Because it's not too complex. It's not too simple. It's fun. But it's not like... I think it evens all of the points there.
Yeah.
And I would, if you got $15, go buy all three.
Yeah, I mean, so RBI Baseball, it was okay. It wasn't...
Give me that.
It wasn't anything special. It wasn't even close to, like, my favorite. There were some, like, okay... Like, the retro moments made it fun.
I need you to say it.
It's not great.
I need you to say it.
I wouldn't say it's garbage.
I don't need you to say that. I just need you to say it.
What do you want me to say?
Don't waste your time.
Yeah, I mean, unless you like retro games, then sure. But
How much was this?
actually, I think that was a little bit more than a normal sports game. I'm pretty sure. Let me check.
I just need to know what to Venmo you after I chuck it across the room.
RBI
Ribby baseball.
baseball.
Give me that ribby, baby.
It was like $7.
Sounds true.
So yeah, I would say like RBI baseball. You can skip that one. World Series baseball for the Sega. I have a lot of nostalgia. Damn, you called it. I have a lot of nostalgia for this game. I think it's a good starting point, especially if you have a working Genesis controller.
For $6, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find this game everywhere. If you have a Sega, I would say pick it up. The rosters on this are some of the best in baseball.
Sega.
I'm just going to say it. Some of the best rosters in baseball.
I mean, there's not much difference between the two, but like there's a couple key differences, but yeah, those are some of the
Yeah.
that was baseball's golden era of modern baseball.
Yeah, I would say just give this game a shot. It's $6. Give it a shot. You could probably get it cheaper than that.
On side note, I think 2004 was the year they broke the curse.
Yes. Yes, it was. I remember that now. I just thought it was not that old.
Dude, we're old.
Ken Griffey Jr. baseball for the N64.
Everything I have to say about it's biased, but like I'm just going to acknowledge that I can't be objective about it because I enjoyed it that much as a child. I don't know if you enjoyed it quite as much.
So
I feel like the learning curve may have been a little bit sharp for tonight.
that's my complaint about this. Is I think I like the way the batting and the pitching works in this game. What I don't like is mainly how they like the skill gap in trying to maneuver and make them work together.
Can you save seasons on World Series? Like if you start a season, does it pick up where it left
I
off?
think so.
Okay. Because I don't remember being able to save on Sega.
I honestly don't. I think you could. Honestly, I don't remember. It's been a while since I played it in depth.
Because your season saves.
Yeah.
Like you can pick up where you left off.
So I like how it plays. One, like I really like how it plays. It does play very well.
We should do a home run derby.
But like I said, with the chain, it's nice to be able to drag the pitch down so it gets that predictability out. But in MVP baseball, how you would wait a little bit and that baseball that you're using to predict would go away. I think if that were a thing in here, it would be a little bit better because you can hide it, but then you have to I think if you put the pitching and batting mechanics from this game into this game, I think I would rate this a little higher.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the next generation.
Well, yeah, but I like the way this plays other than that, though.
To the credit, though, the little cursor does, flash, so that way it makes it harder to see exactly where you're putting it, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because, it just felt, with your pitching, it just felt nearly impossible to be able to hit. And once you told me how to do the pitch movement, you were hitting a lot less.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, the skill gap there is crazy for this. But it
Yeah.
does add to the fun as well.
Well, and the thing is, if you and I played that, for an entire night,
Yeah.
by the end of the night, it would look a lot different.
Probably, yeah, for
rather
sure.
than, a 20-minute little sample.
But I enjoyed this enough to, come back to this.
Are you going to play it again?
Yeah, 100%.
By yourself?
I'd probably play this by myself, yeah. I'd play it with you as well. But
well, no, I mean I have a copy myself, but that's one of actually I think that's in my N64 at home right now.
yeah, like this is something I liked it enough to where I would be like, all right, let's like play like a season or something and like actually put time into it.
I
Yeah.
think can you? I can't remember if you can do 2-player seasons in that or not. The other suggestion that I had for N64 was a similar swinging game. Did you happen to find that?
What was it called?
Twilight Country Club?
Yes.
You are in for a treat on that one, my man.
So then we have MVP Baseball 2004. First time I played this, I would play it again.
Stop. Nope. Pick any other year. 2003, 2005, I don't care. Any other year.
Yeah. Yeah, it plays like a more modern. I like the pitch. You get to choose how fast and how hard you're throwing the ball. I like the preloaded throws. That was nice. The mechanics are there for like current stuff.
I'll be honest with you. I have the show 2024.
Yeah. Yes, obviously the latest and greatest is going to beat this out.
Well, it's the
for
same
sure.
thing. That's what I was going to say.
Basically,
Was like
but-
it hasn't changed except they added too many damn bells. And
For
whistles.
somebody who enjoys playing sports games or just wants to pick up something for their PS2 and like, oh, let's play a baseball game, this is a safe bet.
No, it's a safe bet.
It's a safe bet. It's like
The point that I was just trying to articulate is that represents. I think each of these represents kind of their own category of baseball game.
sure.
And this is definitely like you have a wide range of whether you want to play 2004 or whether you want to play 2024. You're going to get the same thing.
I
out
mean,
of it.
like the reason that I tried to select games from like a variety of consoles is because once you get into like the PS2 and you're playing MVP Baseball 2004, 2005, 2006, they're pretty much all the same game
Which
most of the time.
brings me to my next point. In that context, if we agree that that's like those features are kind of like the modern baseball game features,
Mm-hmm.
that's a 20-year range. You know, you and
Yeah.
I are both in our mid-30s. Somebody who is like looking at this who might be 10 years younger than us, or maybe even somebody 10 years older than us, everybody has like this core, like just group of years of players that they remember that they're fond of.
Sure.
Like, you know, for you, I think it's like the 95 Orioles, like that
Like
kind of
around,
era.
yeah.
And then some people are really like, you know, the 2003, 2005 era. Some people are like the 2012 era. The only way you're getting that roster is to get the game from that year. So
Yeah.
think about, you know, what era of baseball means the most to you,
Mm-hmm.
and pick a game that's kind of like that would enable you to play in that sense, because I think that you would get extra enjoyment out of that familiarity.
I think so. I think you hit on something there in especially the baseball games is like the roster plays a huge part in playability. You know, like the Ken Griffey and the World Series baseball have that period of time where I liked the roster for the I have the most memories of that time frame. And even outside of the Orioles, I have, you know, like the Ken Griffeys, the Frank Thomases, you know, those kinds of players on other teams where if I'm playing like the home run derbies, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm going to be Ken Griffey, or I'm going to be Frank Thomas, or I'm going to be Chris Hoyles or Cal Ripken, or, you know, whoever. Like, I'm going to choose those players from that time period.
Well, and I wish I had picked one of the 4 teams that I can remember from back then that would have represented it in Ken Griffey. But there's like, you know, if you pick Seattle, Ken
Mhm.
Griffey Jr.'s on the Mariners,
Yeah.
basically every at bat, it's like a 50-50 shot that he hits it out of the park. And
Yeah.
the same is true if you play as the Giants with Barry Bonds.
Yep.
Or if you play with the Cards with Mark McGwire,
Mm-hmm.
or the Cubs with Sammy Sosa. Like, all four of those players in that game, they knew they were the home run kings.
Yeah.
They made sure that the game reflected that,
Mm-hmm.
that it was, it felt at least easier to hit a home run if you were one of those players. And you can notice it where, like, I don't know if you took notice, but like the little target rectangle, the
Yeah.
yellow dotted, some players it was real tiny, some players it was just
No,
massive.
I did not take notice to that. No.
Yeah, some players it's like huge, and that's a reflection of their skill level as a hitter and their ability to contact, and then you have the power aspect. And like, if you dig into Ken Griffey, they actually have attributes for all the players within the season mode where you can see what they all do, and you can't really like advance them or like make them get better, but they also have injuries, and it's
Interesting.
a good time. But yeah, play as Ken Griffey in his own game, you're gonna hit a home run.
Well, yeah.
I think he probably had them write that in, but
Yeah. So, we played football last week, and we played baseball this week. So, I think in terms of co-op, I think the football was a little bit more fun. I like baseball. That's probably my favorite sport. Baseball, well, favorite sport overall.
favorite team sport,
Yeah.
because I've seen you on golf.
Yeah.
You were you're
I-
a fiend.
I think if I'm playing a baseball game, chances are I could probably play it solo versus playing it co-op. It's probably just as fun depending on who you're playing with, but I think playing anything co-op is going to be more fun most of the time. But I think the football games were by far, like, by a large margin, more fun to play than the baseball games.
Yeah, I mean, they're more engaging. They're more like, I think the game itself, football, just lends itself better to a video game kind of thing. Don't get me wrong, baseball can be a video game. It can be fun. I definitely had fun with both, but baseball is slower paced. I think there's a little bit more of a skill factor involved in the baseball games, whereas the football games
definitely.
are, more mindless. We can just kind of sit down and have fun.
100%. There's more skill that goes into playing baseball games. You have to focus on what you're throwing, how you want to approach it. You have to worry about the at-bats. You have to worry about fielding it. You have to worry about throwing it. You have to predict. There's a lot more going into the baseball games than the football games, where it's basically just, do I want to run it? Do I want to pass it? Who do I want to pass it to? Like, sure, you have pressure coming in, but it's not as much going on than the baseball games. Yeah, I can agree there.
Well, and the other thing with the baseball games too, I don't know if you noticed it, but I did. It seems very nuanced where, like, between the different games that we picked, there were definitely times where, you may have not been hitting quite as well, or in the MVP, I wasn't hitting quite as well. And you could really kind of see that in the dynamic where you were kind of like, just, and I'm and then MVP, I'm like,
Yeah, I can see that because it was pretty much neck and neck in RBI baseball.
Yep.
It was back and forth, and World Series I only have 1 second controller, and then with Ken Griffey I couldn't hit anything, and you were just ripping them. But
For the
then
most part.
MVP, it was flip-flopped, and you could tell, like, you were just like, oh my gosh. And had we played him a little longer, would have changed very much probably. But
maybe a little bit, but the key takeaway for me there was that football didn't have that.
yeah, 100%.
Football, baseball is one of those things where you're not doing well, it just kind of gets droney.
Yeah.
So that's another consideration for a game where if you're looking for something that everybody can play, everybody can play it, but not everybody might have the same amount of fun with it.
Yeah. Whereas football, it's kind of like you can just pick up and play. It's
And
not,
GoldenEye, I mean, we got to do an episode where we just sit down and play GoldenEye the whole damn time.
we're gonna be doing this kind of stuff a lot more. We just are doing this sports run because I think the sports games get a lot of bad rap from like the collecting scene where they're just like worthless games, nobody cares about them. But I want to try and, show people like, yeah, they may be very cheap and worthless, but that just draws you in to just pick them up and just find ones that you like. If you're a collector, you have multiple systems. There's fun to be had on each. We had fun playing them on four different systems.
The fact that it's cheap is an opportunity.
Yeah.
The value of really anything, but especially games, should not be individually defined by what it costs or what you can resell it for.
Yeah.
If you get too caught up in the number, I think that you're not really recognizing it for what it is. And keep in context, you've got to appreciate the bad for the value it gives everything that's good.
Yeah.
If we wouldn't know that Ken Griffey was good or MVP was good or World Series was good if RBI didn't suck total dick.
Yeah. And it's all like, total. There wasn't much money spent there because you could find these games all day long on
No way you
market.
spent more than $20.
No, I don't think so. No.
So
Yeah, but I mean, especially like on Facebook Marketplace and stuff, you can find sports games in droves.
you can find
For
a lot of stuff on
so
Facebook Marketplace.
cheap.
We probably shouldn't talk about that.
But I want to talk about something real quick.
Oh God.
So, I'm more of a game collector and enthusiast than you are. I mean, you can appreciate video games. I'm more of like a collector actively. So, I watch, the prices of things fluctuate. I see shops labeling prices for video games and stuff, and one thing that I just don't understand is like stores that think that they can just throw the most insane prices on something and just think that they could get away with it.
Do people buy it?
I don't see. I'll give you the example that I'm thinking of, or that I'm talking about, I should say. I just recently got an Analog Pocket, and I got the Game Gear attachment because I always wanted a Game Gear growing up, and I never got one, so I never got to experience the Game Gear as much as I wanted to. So this is me basically like getting to live out this childhood fantasy of owning a Game Gear and playing Game Gear games. Is it gonna go great? Who knows?
Oh boy.
Because the Game Gear apparently is just a big pile of garbage. But
No, you
Anyway.
want to try it? It was a missed opportunity. You do it. You do
exactly.
you.
So
It's going to be expensive because there's not a lot of it.
no, it's really not.
Well, not like expensive as in like hundreds of dollars, but like expensive in relative terms of what other things along those lines were.
So Shining Force.
Oh Christ!
So Shining Force has a
Back to
game
this.
on the Game Gear, and I saw it at a local store. I'm not going to name them. And
Local or like your local?
local.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, there's your answer.
I saw it there, and I was like, "Ooh." I knew the price of it, so I was like, I might snag that while I'm here because I do want to. That is a game that I know I will probably enjoy playing on the Game Gear. So I walk around, and I'm just kind of browsing. I pick up like one or two of these sports games that I picked up, and I walked up. I said, "Hey, what do you have on Shining Force?" It was almost double the price of what it goes for. So
What was the price and what does it go for?
I will bring it up right now. So
What did they want?
well, I'll put it in context here. So Shining Force, the Game Gear, not Final Conflict. Here it is. So Shining Force, Sword of Hadja. Loose, which is what it is on price charting $42.
Find it on eBay.
So here's loose sales from eBay.
Find it on eBay now.
So $50.
Find it on eBay
These
now, bitch.
these are eBay listings right
Well, then
here.
click on one.
It was a sold listing. $50
That's it.
is what this person sold it for on December 5th.
I need to see how to spell this. Haja.
So they, it's roughly like $40 to $50 on eBay sold listings. They wanted $75 for it. I asked him the price. He said $75. I looked at him and I was like, huh?
I'll tell you exactly why. I can explain the whole damn thing to you. And it's not going to make you feel any better, but they got that game from somewhere, right?
Sure.
And we know they didn't get it new. It was somebody that went into the store, they had it, they wanted to sell it for whatever reason.
Sure.
So how are they going to decide what that they...
So I've talked to them about their prices because this is not the first game that I've had issue with. They had Turtles in Time marked at like $80 loose when that is not even close.
It's probably about double.
Yeah.
That's because when they pay somebody for these games, they're paying the eBay rates.
No.
They're not?
Mm-mm.
Because that's them. Nobody should
So
sell them.
anybody that buys games, they do it by percentages. So if it's more popular, easy to sell stuff, the percentage can go up a little bit.
What
if it's
percentage of what?
what they're going to give them. So, say I'm looking at a $100 game from, somebody that brought it to me and wants to sell it. It's a game that I know I can sell just like that because I know somebody who's already looking for it. So I would be comfortable picking it up 100% making an offer at like 70%. So I'd be 75%.
75% of what you're going to sell it for?
So if it's valued, okay, at $100, I would be comfortable being like, I will pay you $70 or $75 for that game.
So you would sell it for $100.
And then I would sell it as a store for $100. So I get to make profit because that is the purpose of owning a business, is to have that profit margin. So if someone brings me a collection that's worth $30,000, depending on what's in that collection, I will either pay half of what that's worth, or I will pay a little more than half of what it's worth as a business.
So hear me out. If I walk in there to sell, say, MVP 2004, and it's going on eBay for $20, I know it's not, and they want to give me 10, why am I going to give it to them? Because I can get it right then and there and take the $10 hit?
Because you don't have to do the work.
Right. So my point to that is, like, again, with your percentage, you're thinking, they can get $20 on eBay for it. If we give them 15, we can get that inventory, and then we sell it at 30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how business works.
Even though it's going on eBay for 20, they sell it at 30 because that's doubling what you paid for it.
So, in terms of finding what things are worth, every collector goes by price charting or eBay sold listings. So that determines the value of that game
Right.
and what they should market at. So if it's selling on eBay for $50, they should be marking that game at $50 You could even mark it at like 52, 55.
Right.
And no one would really bat an eye,
And somewhere in there,
depending on what it is.
well, so there is a premium for being able to take it home the same day.
Sure. So if you want to be 55, I'm really not going to argue at 55. Like, if I see it and I'm like, oh, I could buy it for 50, or I could just buy it now for 55, I would be very, like, not even think about it. But when I'm looking at all these listings and it's like, oh, $50, $50, $50, $50, and you have it for $75, I'm not paying the $25 premium just to take it home with me then. I will gladly go to a gaming group on Facebook, an eBay listing, somebody I trust, another game store even, and, try and find the game for the actual reasonable price rather than the $20-some upcharge.
Well,
They've done that with a bunch of games where I've asked the price on, like, more, like, premium games, and they've told me the price, and I'm like, that can't be right. And I look it up on Price Charting or eBay Solds, and I'm like, it's to the point where I've asked them, like,
did you
where
buy it?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Did I mean, and this is like the bigger problem that I see here is that people would rather do without the extra money than do without the product.
Like, that's the thing that...
And it's ruining the market.
Yeah, like, if I were to be in the position of, person owning game store, like, you want to have somebody come in your store and have a good experience. That's how people come back. If people are coming in as big collectors or serious collectors and they're seeing these games and they're like, oh, yes, I would love to pick up Ocarina of Time CIB. Like, yeah. What's your price on it? And they're like, oh, it's $600, and it's like a $300 game, and you're just like, the fuck?
So this is the same, like, it's the same thing. Take, for example, soda. What do you pay for a 6-pack of Coke or any soda at the store?
I have no
Like
idea.
a Giant.
I don't buy
I
soda.
think it's like $5.99, like $6, so
Mhm.
it's like $1 each. Yet you go into any gas station and it's $1.89 or $2.19.
Yeah.
It's double in the gas station because of the convenience. Because you want it when you're at the gas station. Like, you want a fucking soda now.
Yeah.
You're willing to pay that extra $1 to get it. Okay, that's fine. In the case of games, I don't think you can really, like, do that kind of a pitch,
So,
but they do.
I don't have a problem with doing a little bit of an upcharge. Like, that's not an issue. But it can't be that big of an upcharge. Unless you're talking premium titles.
So, general business practice markup should be at least a 50% profit margin to cover overhead.
Yeah,
and
which is why
grow.
most of the time, like, you're looking at about 50%. But if you're taking a box of games and they are all just easy sells, good quality games, you're gonna get a little more than 50%.
I mean, the point that you're getting at here is that businesses are getting greedy as shit.
Some, yes, 100%.
Well, yeah, I mean, like Arizona Iced Tea's been 99 cents forever, and their CEO is just like, we own everything.
Yeah.
Why am I going to raise prices just to screw people?
Mm-hmm.
Where you have other industries where it's like, fuck it, raise it by $300. They'll pay
Yeah.
it. What are they going to do? It's literally racketeering, and I mean, everyone's crying inflation. The funny thing about inflation is profits typically don't change during a period of true inflation.
Yeah.
So we see companies like Starbucks, which is a commodity, by the way. Nobody needs gourmet coffee.
It's not even that good a coffee.
And, well, that's neither here nor there. Their profit margins are through the fucking roof
Dude,
this year.
it's like if you go to breakfast. Like, if you go to a diner
That was for you.
and they're charging $15 for a simple breakfast,
Yeah.
it does not cost them anywhere close to $15 to make that breakfast.
But you're right. But the point there is that if you see a diner in particular, they're typically, local businesses.
Mm-hmm.
If they're charging $15 for breakfast, I'm saying, what happened to your lease?
Yeah.
Or, in the case of a diner, we've seen eggs go up recently. I could see, like, let's say eggs go up $2 a dozen. I could arguably see a diner increasing prices by $4 for every dozen eggs they use to include the profit margin in that.
Yeah.
Which, again, when you start to stack these wholesale costs, like this cost of goods sold, they call it COGS, and then you stack your same profit margin on top of it, it's exponential growth, because for every dollar that your cost grows, you then have to sell it for $2 more to assume that dollar plus the dollar of margin.
Yeah. When you're talking about grocery stores and like stuff like that, like it doesn't even relate to like a collectible market, because you have like pretty much these set values that I guess everybody's just come to agree. Like, this is what we will pay for game. We go higher. We hear.
The only thing that changes between grocery stores and collectible games or collectible anything. Honestly, the only thing that change, even like, let's take it to Walmart. They sell everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Some shit is going to have like a 600% markup.
Yeah.
Like alcohol, the markup is just absurd.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to walk into a game store, see this game, and it's a $5 game. They're not going to try and sell it for $20. You have people on Marketplace that try and sell these things for $20 in lots because they're absolutely insane, because they think video games are just gold at this point. But I don't even remember what the original point or question or whatever that I made, but I think that
you're just saying they're selling it for too much.
Yeah, like you have, like, as a store, like, you have to look at that and be like, that's a little much. Like,
no, yeah.
Because the thing about it is, enough times of somebody coming in and asking for the price of the game behind the counter or underneath the glass, they already know, like, okay, I know the boxed Super Mario is, X, $120, just as an example. Just, it's probably not the price, but you get the point.
No, I get it.
So I already know it's probably going to be from either $100 to $120. The minute they say it's $170, I'm already like,
right?
Are you serious? Because you have to understand, as a store, like, you are providing a service to the customer of allowing them to come into your store as an experience, walk your store, admire the things that they can't buy, admire the things that they may not be into, but they can still appreciate because it's part of their nerd culture. And you are going in there mostly for a reason, maybe sometimes not, but sometimes you're in there, you're just like, I'm really hoping they have this game.
So,
and you already know what your pretty much roundabout spending is.
Right.
And you could go a little higher, you could go a little lower. But the minute you get soured by that much of a difference in price, that will make or break that person's experience in that store, which is not what you want to be doing.
Price is dictated, simply put, by supply, demand, cost of goods sold, because you're not going to have a crazy markup on a $50,000 cost.
Yeah.
And marketing. They're missing the boat from a business perspective, but from a customer perspective, as a businessman, if your customers will pay it, why take anything less? Because you can do the right thing or you can do the greedy thing, and maybe they're doing, they're just erring on one side of that at this current point. But so Shining Force sort of Haja?
Something like that, yeah. Shining Force on the Game Gear.
Okay. And you're looking for it.
Yes.
Stop.
Like,
No, really.
why?
Stop looking for it.
Why?
Merry Christmas.
This motherfucker. I knew you needed to see that for a fucking reason, you dirty bastard. Thank you, I guess. But
I don't know when it'll be here, but I'll give it to you on air. So spread the holiday cheer.
yeah, like when it comes to like being in a business and owning a business.
And I did not pay $70 for it. But go on.
When it comes to owning a business, especially a game store that you're not only providing a service but you're providing an experience for that, you need to have your morals and everything just be on the side of good, because the more relationships you have, the better experiences that you provide, and the quality of that service will dictate how much you succeed. Now, you know, there's not a ton of competition game store wise in our area. However,
There's none.
You're not only competing with other stores, you're competing with the fucking internet.
That wasn't a thing before. I mean, that's a harder thing to do. And in most cases, like, the internet genuinely, like, I don't know how else to say it. Look at Toys R Us.
Yeah, like look at any brick and mortar store competing with the internet. You either succeed or you don't. There's no, like, you only can, like, stop the bleeding for so long.
There are only certain products that make sense in a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And those are things where you can do impulse, immediate need, or you simply can't, like, ship them efficiently.
Yeah.
I don't think games fall into any of that category other than, like, the consignment approach that they're trying to take, but they're warping that even. I mean, at this point, it's like, just press stop. Sorry. I mean, maybe we can do a video. I'll go in there and confront them about it, but
and the thing about it is it's a bigger store, so you can't sit there and negotiate. There is no, like, they're just employees. They don't really have...
The only reason they can't negotiate is because they won't.
Pretty much, yeah.
They're still a small business.
But, you know, when I go to a game store that's much further away, there is that give and take, because I've built a relationship with them. I go in, they know who I am. When I'm buying certain things, like if I'm buying a higher dollar, you know, when I bought Super Mario Brothers CIB for the NES, I went in there probably 3 weeks in a row because I used to pass their old location going to one of my dealerships. So I'd always stop in for like 10, 15 minutes, shoot the shit, take a look. And I would look at it and I'm like, man, I'd love to have that in my collection. What'd you have it at? I'll give you this for it. And they're like, nah, can't go there, can't go that low. And I'm like, cash money, I'm ready for you. And they're like, nah, I can't do it. So I would leave. I would come back the next week, do the same thing. Nah, I can't do it, can't go that low. Third week, I went in. Look, man, my offer still stands. He's like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. I'm like, hell yeah.
So here's...
That, not only did that provide a service for me, because I wanted that game, it provided that experience of, like, the back and forth where it wasn't just a, no, man, I'm not doing it. It was like, nah, I can't do it, man. Like, as much as I would love to, like, I just can't do it.
Well, most
and then
people don't like
eventually they do it, and it's like this fun back and forth, and you, like, there was so much more to it than just trying to buy the game. And now, like, if it wasn't so far away for me to go, that would be my go-to place. I have my gripes with that store, you know, but
Most people can't stand the haggle, though.
Yeah, that's the dude. Marketplace is.
Let me put
don't
this
even
out
get me
there.
started.
Well, Marketplace is just unhinged. If I were the store that we were talking about, not the one that you like,
Sure, I like both of them. Don't get me wrong.
I
but
don't.
The other one,
I
the one
don't.
that we're talking about, it like I have way more gripes with that than the other.
if you were smart and understood your customers, not you, but them,
Sure, yeah.
I would in fact build in an additional 5 to 10% of markup on my sticker price so that my customer service reps or my sales guys or whatever you want to call the guys behind the counter
Mm-hmm.
can say as soon as somebody's interested in it, well, it typically goes for $90, but I could probably get it to you for $80. And what you're doing there is, one, you've already built in that hit.
Exactly.
Two, you're presenting it as a discount to the customer, which makes the customer feel warm and fuzzy, builds trust, even if it's not true trust. And it is. I mean, you're thinking about them ahead of time.
Yeah.
That builds rapport. That builds camaraderie. That builds word of mouth, where people are like, yeah, man, I got a great deal on this at this place.
That is what matters, man. Like,
Yeah, bringing them back.
where like if you're looking at the smaller stuff, they're pretty much right on par. But when you start getting into like these, $50 to, couple $100 games, their markups are just insane.
Well, tell me more about how they price graded games, LJ.
I'm not touching that one, but yeah, like no matter what the game is, like you can get away with a bigger markup with, a more expensive game, because if you're looking at a $50 markup or even a $100 markup,
Well, fixed value markup.
If
Bigger
it's-
fixed value, not
so
bigger.
if it's a $200 game and you have it for $300, most of that difference is probably coming in with condition.
Sure.
If it's a more minty condition, I will gladly pay the extra, money to have that high dollar game as clean as possible. But if I'm looking at a $50 game and you're trying to mark it up $20, it's not the same.
well,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm not buying that for condition. I'm buying that because I want it in my collection.
So you sell the $300 game maybe, once a month? Once every couple weeks?
Probably more often as a store, because you probably have a rapport with, heavier collectors and stuff like that.
But to my point, how often do you sell the $5 game that's marked up $1?
All day long.
So-
But that even says, if I'm coming in and I'm looking at, $40 games, $50 games, chances are I'm probably going to buy more than one.
So if I just hear me out on this one, if I sell 500 of these $5 games with $1 markup in the week, how much have I actually profited off of that? $500, right?
Yeah.
And then I sell one of those $300 games at $100 markup every 2 weeks. That's $100 every 2 weeks versus $500 a week.
That's what I'm saying.
Kind of makes sense to go after the volume
you're-
instead of the big win.
If you're putting your games at the actual values that they are, and you're pretty much on par with price charting and eBay, you're going to make more sales.
You're going to get in trouble.